.76. Back in my day, we shot on flat ranges in perfect conditions and we could see everything. Alrighty guys, so today we're going to be talking about the AR-15 and its basic terminology and functions. So just like the Glock video, this is going to be intended for new shooters, rather people new to the AR-15 platform, or people curious about the AR-15 platform that have little experience or exposure to it. Obviously, if you are an experienced firearms owner or user, you probably know most of this, so it's probably not for you, probably not going to get much out of this, but feel free to watch the video or share it with someone that is new to this. With that being said, let's get into it. So we're going to keep in mind the 4 firearm safety rules while going through this demonstration, that being treat the weapon as if it is loaded until you've verified its condition, keep the weapon pointed in a safe direction, keep your finger off the trigger, and know your target, what is beyond your target, what is to the left, right, and front of your target. With that being said, let's go ahead and clear this weapon so that we can get into the demonstration. We will go over how to clear it later. Until then, I'm simply going to clear it. Okay, so here we have an AR-15 carbine. So this model is a BCM. It is a 16-inch barrel mid-length gas system with an M-LOK free-floated handguard. Attached to it is a Trijicon MRO red dot sight and an Malkoff Devices weapon light. So let's go ahead and get into the basic terminology. We're going to start here at the pistol grip. This is where your shooting hand will control the weapon system. From here, you will manipulate your safety, your trigger, and your mag release, which is right here. The safety on most AR-15s will be on the left-hand side of the weapon system. Some will have it on both the left and right side of the weapon system. Traditionally speaking, and this is in regards to semi-automatic rifles, which will be the vast majority of your civilian rifles. That being said, we have the safety here, horizontal and pointed forward. You see this little pointer right here designating what mode it's in. Here it's in safe. Flipping it to the vertical position and pointing it at semi will put it into semi-automatic. And flipping it back puts you back on a safe. You have the magazine release right here. This is activated by simply pressing down into the weapon system, and that is what releases your magazine. And then of course we have the trigger. The trigger is operated by rearward pressure, like that, and then resetting the trigger. Oh, a note on the AR-15. If you have depressed the trigger, that means that your hammer is in the upward position. So you can see here that the hammer is up. In most rifles, if the hammer is in the upwards position, you cannot re-engage the safety. That is simply how the fire control group works. Fire control group referring to the group of components in here. See if we can get that to focus. The group of components in here that activate firing. So in order to get your weapon to go back on safe, you're going to need to reset the hammer. Once that trigger is reset, i.e. in the downwards position here, you can re-engage your safety. Once the action is moved to the rear, that is what resets your trigger and allows you to fire another round. Here in front of the trigger, we have the bolt latch. The bolt latch is both functioning as a bolt stop and bolt release, same as the Glock series of pistols, but obviously slightly different. So here we have a lever held in place with a pin and spring activated. Depressing the bottom half of the lever will act as a bolt lock, demonstrated here. We have now locked the bolt to the rear with the downward pressure on the bolt latch and rearward pressure pulling the charging handle all the way to the rear. We'll get into that in a second, but that locks our action to the rear. Depressing the top of this lever will drop the bolt, and that sends our bolt home, or our bolt carrier home. This is our bolt carrier right here. Sorry, right here. I'm doing this through the camera, so it's a little awkward. Okay, so that being said, we'll go into the charging handle. So your charging handle here is the BCM, I believe this is a mod 4. Doesn't say, but this is the one with the non-ambidextrous latch. It's only unlocks on this side. But when I say unlocks, that is referring to this piece right here. See how that hook comes out right there? That is what latches your charging handle in place. And so you need to unlock that portion right there with that little bit of movement. And that is what allows you to rack it. That is performed with your non-firing hand, generally speaking. Here on the top of the upper receiver, we have a Picatinny rail that goes all the way down to the front of the weapon system, at the front of the handguard. That is for the equipping of iron sights, red dots, magnified optics. Obviously, if your lights down here at the end, all kinds of stuff can be mounted on there. Don't mount anything that you don't need. That is my thoughts on the subject. Quick note on the company BCM. BCM is a high quality manufacturer. I highly recommend their products. But there's a number of manufacturers out there I would recommend. We'll do a video on that in the future. There's too much to cover in one video. So with that being said, we're going to move to the front of the weapon system. So here we have a handguard. So the handguard serves a couple of purposes. First, it obviously allows you to grip the weapon without gripping the barrel, which gets hot because you are firing a firearm, and that includes heat and pressure and a fairly significant amount of it. So with that being said, this will protect your hand and allow you to control the weapon with your non-firing hand. It also provides you a safe place to support the weapon system off of available cover, concealment, or support, so that you can maintain a sturdier shooting position. We will go over that in future videos, of course. And another use for this is it allows you to mount accessories. On this rifle, we have the red dot sight. We have the weapon light and pressure pad to activate it. And we have a sling mount right here and a Picatinny rail right here for the mounting of a bipod. So these are some pretty standard things that you might see used. It will also allow you a significant series of tie-down portions if you need to tie down any equipment to the rifle itself, fairly commonly seen in different agencies and units. Moving to the right side of the weapon system. Here we're going to have our forward assist, our dust cover, magazine release, which we've already went over, and additional markings for safe and semi. So on this weapon system, the dust cover is fairly significantly important. This is my opinion. However, it is based off of many years of experience with these rifles in the field. You're going to want to keep this sealed up just so it stays nice and clean in there. InRange has some videos with mud tests on the AR-15 platforms, both with the dust cover closed and open, and they show that the weapons function very well with the cover open when exposed to mud. However, we should do our best to take care of these weapon systems, regardless of how good and reliable they are. Let's keep these things sealed so you don't get a bunch of crap up in your bolt carrier group. Behind that we have, oh, let's start here too. We have the brass deflector that deflects brass. You can see here on it that it has a slight amount of wear and rubbing from casings ejecting out of the receiver. That's fine, it's totally normal. Here we have the forward assist. The forward assist functions by, so we can see the bolt slightly out of battery. Depressing that will push your bolt into battery. A lot of people see these as malfunction worseners for jamming bad bullets into the chamber. What I've used this for in the past, there are 2 times I've used this. One is when using a heavy load of blank ammunition, which is incredibly dirty. The other is for loading weapons more quietly. That is something I have done a number of times. There are some weapons, depending on how much wear they have, you can use this notch and push it forward, similar to what we did with the forward assist. Oh, sorry, this weapon actually works, so. But you can kind of push forward like that. Depending on how new the weapon is or how tight the weapon is, that can be different levels of challenging for different rifles, so it's nice to have the forward assist. I like it at least as an option. Behind that, some really simple stuff. We have the base plate between the castle nut and the receiver. The castle nut is what holds everything together in the back here. These should be held down, torqued to spec, and staked in place. That is the way that it's supposed to be done. If it's not done that way, it is not correct. To the rear of that, we have a stock. On pistol AR-15s, we may have a brace. The stock of the rifle is used to hold the weapon firmly to the shoulder or to the outside of the pectoral muscle. On the braces, it's designed to hold it to your forearm to support holding the weapon one-handed. And then out here we can see the last parts of the barrel being exposed, as well as the, in this case, the BCM Mod 0 compensator. I recommend using flash hiders. You can see in the intro some of the firing, the flash is quite significant. If you're on this channel, there's a very good chance you own these weapons for defense of life and liberty. Maybe a flash hider is a good idea. Underneath of that is where the muzzle is contained, as well as the crown being the last interaction between the bullet and the barrel as it exits into your external ballistics. And there's some other things in there too, but that's later stuff. Let's go ahead, go into field stripping at this point. Again, we're going to do the clearing and loading procedures at the end of the video. This weapon's already been cleared, so we're going to go ahead and push this pin right here out, which I've already done from the other side, and pull it. This is a captured pin. You can also do the same thing with this front pin, and then you can completely separate the upper and lower receivers. We are not going to do that. Actually, you know, yes, we will. So, same thing, and that will allow us to separate our upper and our lower receiver. Here in our lower receiver, of course, we have the fire control group as mentioned. That is going to contain your hammer, your trigger, and your disconnector in most cases. Then here in the rear, we have our buffer. We have our inside our buffer tube. We have our buffer and buffer spring retained by our buffer retainer. That's more or less it for the lower half of the rifle. Oh, to take this out, you simply push that button down, and it all comes out, and then you just push it back in, and that's pretty much that. For the upper receiver, it is disassembled by pulling that latch. You want to control this because there's no spring tension, so it'll just pop out. Pulling that latch to the rear, and then pulling your bolt carrier and your charging handle out. You've now field stripped the weapon system and can clean it, do most of your cleaning at this level. You can also break the bolt carrier down very simply by sticking your nail in here and kind of fishing out. Here we're going to use a bullet tip for this because that's a little easier. This one's tight. So what we're doing is pushing from the opposite side, and that will expose it just a little bit more so that we can get this thing out. This is a brand new bolt. This is actually my first time disassembling this bolt particularly, but all right, there we go. These BCM bolts can be pretty tight when you first get them, So that's your firing pin retainer. That will allow us to pop our firing pin out. I like to put these things inside of the charging handle so you don't lose them. Once you do that, you can depress your bolt. So your bolt rides in this channel right here, depressing it to the rear, and then rotating this 90 degrees so that it's like this will allow you to pull it out. This is your bolt cam pin, and this is your bolt right here. This is a fully, well, not technically fully, but as far as user end maintenance is concerned, this is a fully stripped bolt carrier group into your components, your bolt carrier, your cam pin, your firing pin, and somewhere in here, your firing pin retainer pin. At this point, you can clean out everything and lube it up. The lube points on this are most primarily going to be your 4 rails, being here, 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 and there. That's where the majority of your riding happens on your bolt carrier, and then the actual lugs of your bolt and the gas keys. I'm sorry, the gas rings right there. You want to make sure that your ejector is on this side right here, and then you line up that hole so that you can insert your cam pin. It'll only go back together one way. They went ahead and infantry proof this for you, as I am demonstrating here. I'm making this look complicated. It's quite simple. It's just harder because I'm doing it through a camera. All right, and then pull this forward and rotate your cam pin 90 degrees. Again, it won't go together wrong, so you're not going to mess it up. Make sure you push your firing pin all the way to the front, and then take your cam pin, work it in there, push it through, and that is your reassembled bolt carrier. Very simple. Your bolt carrier gas key should be staked like this. Proper staking keeps your gas key bolts from coming out. If your gas key comes off, that's a problem, because you might say this is key to the operation of the weapon system. Reassembly of the rifle is quite simple. You simply take the things and put them in their appropriate channels. The charging handle has a slot in there, so you're going to put it through the bolt channel and then kind of raise it up into the roof of the receiver until it goes in place. Push it forward a little bit, pull your bolt out to full extension, and then reassemble it simply by realigning it up with the receiver and pushing it all back into place. That is pretty much it. This upper receiver is now reassembled, and then you simply put it onto the lower receiver and push your pins back into place, and your weapon is now fully assembled. To function test the weapon system, you are going to rack the charging handle. You're going to place the weapon safe, attempt to fire. Nothing should happen. Place the weapon on fire. Fire. You should get a click. And then charge the weapon system, and your trigger should click again. And that is basically it. Once you've completed your function test, you're basically done. That is really everything there is to know about the basic functions of the AR-15. Now we will go into clearing procedures. Hey guys, so I was looking at the footage as I was editing it, about to post it, and I really didn't like how the clearing and loading procedures turned out. We're gonna do a separate video on that just to be more clear about exactly how to go through the procedures to make sure you don't ever have an issue doing them. That being said, I hope this has been helpful for those it was intended for. You guys stick around for more content so we can get more people out there and doing the things. Until next time, guys, this has been Doug with Matic Rifleman, because everywhere deserves good and capable riflemen. You all have a blessed day.